Before today's video, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest videos. If you want to see a case or topic covered by Paranormally Listed, then go to criminallylisted.com and fill out the questionnaire under the Suggest a Case tab. Number 3. Atuk. Can a movie that's never been in production be cursed? That's the story of Atuk. Based on the novel The Incomparable Atuk by Canadian author Mordecai Richler. The 1963 novel is a comedy about Canadian Inuk who's brought to Toronto and has to adapt to life in the big city. The book was adapted into a screenplay and the rights were purchased by Canadian filmmaker Norman Jewison. Jewison is known for such films as In the Heat of the Night, Fiddler on the Roof, and Moonstruck. For those 3 movies, he was nominated for Best Director at the Academy Awards. For the film adaptation, the title was simply going to be Atuk, and the titular character is changed from a native Alaskan who ends up in New York City. Atuk dreams of seeing the world outside of his Inuit village. He sees his opportunity to leave when a documentary film crew show up to film the village. Atuk becomes a stowaway on the plane, but the documentarian, Michelle Ross, discovers him. She decides to bring him to New York City. While in NYC, Atuk befriends a rebellious teenager named Bishop when he crashes his boat into a pier. Atuk saves him from drowning, and Bishop takes him out for a night on the town. After the night, Bishop lets him stay with him at his family's mansion. Bishop is the son of real estate agent mogul Alexander McEwen. McEwen has plans on building a major metropolis in the Alaskan wilderness. Environmentalists oppose the project because it will destroy the ecosystem. McEwen sees his opportunity with Atuk to be the face of the campaign and also reveals that Ross works for him. Atuk agrees to help McEwen with his project because he has romantic feelings for Ross. Bishop becomes upset with Atuk for joining his father's project and he is sent to military school. Ross and Atuk fly back to Alaska to film a commercial for the project, but he gets a bad feeling because he gets his face painted darker and is told to do unnatural Inuit things. When Atuk finally sees the commercial, he realizes he's been tricked. Upset, he breaks Bishop out of a military school, and the 2 of them dogsled to a hearing on the decision regarding the metropolis. Atuk convinces all the investors to pull out of the project. After saving the area, Atuk returns to his village. However, the next day, Ross shows up at the village and asks Atuk to join her in Hawaii. He accepts the invitation, and they go to the plane where Bishop is sitting in the co-pilot seat. The script attracted a lot of attention from some of the best comedians of the time. The first person considered for the role of Atuk was John Belushi. Belushi first came to fame for his part in the inaugural season of Saturday Night Live. He later became a breakout comedic star in movies like Animal House and The Blues Brothers. Belushi read the Atuk script in 1982 and was immediately interested in the role. He was set to play the Atuk character, but unfortunately a few months later, Belushi was found dead in the Chateau Marymount in Los Angeles. The police determined he had died from a drug overdose. John Belushi was 33 years old. After Belushi's death, Atuk's script went back onto the market. The next person to show interest in the role of Atuk was Sam Kinison. Kinison was a stand-up comedian known for his intense, distinctive, screaming performances. In 1988, production started, but after 8 days of filming, Kinison did not like the direction of the script. Kinison, who had creative control, halted production to rewrite parts of the script. However, the studio and Kinison clashed, and the movie was put on hold. Production resumed in 1992, however, Kinison wouldn't survive to be part of it. On April 10, 1992, Kinison was driving his Pontiac Turbo Trans Am on the Niels Highway with his wife. They were driving to a sold-out show at the Riverside Casino when a drunk Troy Pearson crossed the center line with his pickup truck and collided with Kinnison head-on. Initially, Kinnison appeared to be in stable condition and even got out of the car and sat down on the side of the road. Witnesses on the scene said they saw Kinnison talking to nobody, saying, "Why now?" then paused and said, "But why?" pausing again, then saying, "Okay, okay, okay." He then passed away from internal injuries. Kinnison's wife survived her injuries, and Pearson pleaded guilty to vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence and was sentenced to 1 year probation and 300 hours of community service. Sam Kinnison was 38 years old. The first 2 people connected with Atuk died unexpectedly, and their ghosts may haunt places around Los Angeles. If you want to hear more about their lives, deaths, and hauntings, please check out our videos, 3 Scariest Hollywood Curses and 3 Hollywood Hauntings. After Sam Kinnison's death, the production moved on to find another actor. In 1994, they approached their first Canadian comedian for the role. Arguably the funniest and nicest comedians of his generation, John Candy was asked to play Atuk. Candy, known for his Canadian-based sketch comedy show SCTV, found success in Hollywood, with many comedy movies throughout the 1980s into the early 1990s. His most notable roles were in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Uncle Buck, and a small part in Home Alone. Candy was sent the Atuk script to study and was thrilled to be part of the movie. Sadly, Candy passed away on March 4, 1994, while filming Wagons East in Mexico. He had suffered a heart attack while sleeping. John Candy was 43 years old. Oddly enough, before passing away, Candy asked close friend Michael O'Donoghue to look at the script and potentially join the cast. O'Donoghue was the first head writer and delivered the first line ever on Saturday Night Live. However, O'Donoghue wouldn't be joining the production either. 9 months after Candy's death, in November, O'Donoghue died from a cerebral hemorrhage. Michael O'Donoghue was 54 years old. The Atuk script floated around Hollywood for a couple years, but no one picked it up. That's until 1997, when a man who had similar comedic chops as all the previous men had, Chris Farley, was offered the role of Atuk. Farley, much like his idol John Belushi, started on Saturday Night Live. He was a breakthrough star on the series and quickly became a fan favorite. Farley would also get small roles in his other SNL Friends movies, such as Airheads, Billy Madison, and Wayne's World. He eventually starred in his own movies, Tommy Boy and Black Sheep. After being approached with a role originally slated for his idol, Belushi, Farley expressed interest in the part. Farley read the script and was excited to be a part of the film. Sadly, Chris Farley died the same way Belushi did, at the same age of 33. In the same fashion as Candy, Farley passed the script along to his SNL friend, Phil Hartman. Hartman was the second Canadian to fall victim to the curse just after Farley's death. As did Belushi, O'Donoghue, and Farley, Hartman found fame on Saturday Night Live. He stayed on SNL for 8 seasons and left the show and joined the sitcom News Radio. Along with his many acting roles, Hartman is known for his voice. On The Simpsons, he voiced the characters of Lionel Hutz, a shady ambulance-chasing lawyer, and Troy McClure, a wash-up actor who hosted multiple questionable infomercials and educational films. On the night of May 27, 1998, Hartman and his wife, Bryn, got into an argument over her drug use. Hartman went to bed after the heated argument. Sometime before 3 a.m. on May 28th, Bryn entered the room where Hartman was sleeping and shot him 3 times. She then drove to a friend's home where she confessed to the murder. The friend didn't believe her and drove her back home. Bryn then called another friend and once again confessed to the murder. At 6:20 a.m., the friend at the house called the police. The police arrived on the scene and escorted Hartman's 2 children and the friend out of the home. At that time, Bryn had locked herself in the bedroom. Shortly afterwards, a shot was heard from the bedroom. Bryn died from that gunshot. Phil Hartman was 49 years old. After filing Hartman's death, the Atuk script stopped shopping around and sat on the shelf. In the years since then, there have been rumors that actors such as Will Ferrell, Jack Black, and John Goodman were going to star in the film, but nothing official has ever been made public. As for right now, the script sits dusty on a shelf, waiting for the next victim of the curse. It is also noted that 4 of the men, Belushi, Kinnison, Candy, and Farley, may have been attached to another movie curse. They are all interested in starring in a confederacy of dunces. To find out about that curse, check out our video, 3 Scariest Hollywood Curses. Number 2. The Little Rascals. Our Gang was a series of short comedy films that were produced from 1922 to 1944. It follows a group of young, poor neighborhood children and the adventures dealing with snobby rich kids, adults, and parents. After the films ended in 1944, a television series debuted in 1955. However, because the Our Gang name was owned by MGM, the television series went by the name The Little Rascals. Many of the children featured in the show met untimely deaths. Even animals were not safe. Pete the pup, the first dog to play Pete, was poisoned in 1930 and died. One of the most recognizable of the cast was Alfalfa. Played by Carl Switzer, he most notably known for his pointed cowlick in his hair. Switzer appeared in 61 shorts. As the children grew into adolescence, they were replaced. After Our Gang, Switzer found it difficult finding acting jobs. He did find bit acting roles and landed a role in It's a Wonderful Life and The Defiant Ones. Between acting jobs, Switzer worked odd jobs such as a bartender, dog trainer, and hunting guide. It's at one of these jobs that he met his tragic fate. In January 1959, Switzer was working as a tour guide and got into an argument with one of his clients over $50. Switzer pulled out a knife and the other man shot him in the stomach. Switzer died from the gunshot wound. Carl Switzer was 31 years old. The man who shot him went to trial for murder, but he was found not guilty because he had been acting in self-defense. Switzer's older brother, Harold, was even affected by the curse. Harold appeared in the series. In April 1967, while working as an appliance service repairman, Harold got into a dispute with a customer. He killed the customer, then drove to a remote area of Inglewood, California, where he took his own life. Harold Switzer was 42 years old. William Thomas, known as Buckwheat on Our Gang, was found dead in his home in October 1980. Heart attack was the cause of death. He was 49 years old. After Our Gang, Robert Hutchins became a cadet in the Army Air Corps. Known as Weezer, he died after a mid-air collision in May 1945. He died a week before his graduation ceremony. Robert Hutchins was 20 years old. Matthew Beard played Stymie. By his early 40s, Beard was a heavy drug user living on the streets. He served many stints in prison, but by the 1960s, he had checked himself into rehab to get help with his heroin addiction. After cleaning himself up, he had a few guest spots on television shows such as The Jeffersons and Sanford and Son. 2 days after his 56th birthday, on January 3, 1981, Beard suffered a stroke and fell down a flight of stairs, causing a head injury. He died 5 days later from pneumonia. Norman Chaney was very recognizable because of his size. His name on the show was Chubby. Chaney struggled with his weight throughout his life. After Our Gang, he put on even more weight. By the age of 17, he weighed more than 300 pounds. He moved back to Baltimore, where he underwent surgery to help with his weight. Shortly after the procedure, Chaney died. Norman Chaney was 21 years old. Most of the kids featured on Our Gang came from poor families. At the time, child actors were not paid well, so most went back into poverty afterward. In a sad ending to Chaney's story, he was buried in an unmarked grave in Baltimore. It wasn't until 2012 that a group of people raised money to buy a plaque for his grave. Scotty Beckett had a troubled life after leaving Our Gang. Beckett was one of the actors to find some success in the film industry. He starred alongside famous actresses such as Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe. But with the success came the partying lifestyle. He became addicted to alcohol and drugs. Beckett was arrested many times for drunk driving and drug possession. By 1968, Beckett was at rock bottom. On May 8, 1968, he checked himself into a nursing home, claiming he had suffered injuries from being beat up. 2 days later, a nursing home staff found him dead. A bottle of pills and a note was found near his body. The medical examiner could not determine a cause of death. Scotty Beckett was 38 years old. Another Our Gang actor who struggled with alcohol was Richard Daniels. Daniels appeared in the first Our Gang film as Mickey. He left acting and started working in construction engineering. But Daniels fed into his addiction of alcohol. On August 20th, 1970, Daniels was found dead alone in a hotel room. He passed away from cirrhosis of the liver due to years of alcohol abuse. He was placed in an unmarked grave. Then, in 2019, fans pooled money together to get him a tombstone. Richard Daniels was 55 years old. Billy Laughlin was featured in the later episodes of the Our Gang shorts. He was known as Froggy due to the character's raspy voice that resembled a frog. Laughlin decided that the Hollywood life wasn't for him and returned to his hometown of La Puente, California, to live a normal life. Sadly, he wouldn't get a long life after Hollywood. On August 31st, 1948, Laughlin was riding on the back of a motorized scooter. He and her friend were delivering newspapers. When his friend made a U-turn, he collided with a speeding truck. Laughlin died a few hours later at the hospital. The friend driving survived with minor injuries. Billy Laughlin was 16 years old. Robert Young, better known by his stage name, Clifton Young, was in 18 Our Gang shorts. He reached some success in the film world after landing small roles in Western films and film noirs. But by 1950, he and his wife were divorcing, and he was living in a hotel. On September 10, 1951, Young fell asleep with a lit cigarette in his mouth. The cigarette started a fire, and Young perished in the fire. Robert Young was 33 years old. 13-year-old Dorothy Dandridge first appeared in Our Gang as a student in a school. She had a successful Hollywood career. But after her fame started to dwindle, she found herself in massive debt. On September 8, 1965, she called her manager at 7:15 a.m. to reschedule a doctor's appointment. At 10 a.m., her manager knocked on her door, but no one responded. He broke down the door and discovered Dandridge's dead body. The medical examiner determined that the death was an accidental overdose of antidepressants. However, her friends do not think it was accidental. Dorothy Dandridge was 42 years old. Kendall McCormick played Breezy Brisbane in Our Gang. In 1981, McCormick was working as an electrical engineer. He was depressed because he was being forced to retire. McCormick took his life 2 weeks before he was scheduled to retire. Kendall McCormick was 64 years old. Jay Smith is probably the oldest Our Gang member to die an unnatural death. After his wife passed away, 87-year-old Smith took in an unhoused man, Charles Crombie. In October 2002, Smith's dead body was found in the Las Vegas desert. Cromie admitted to stabbing Smith to death and was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms. Darwood Smith, also known by his stage name, Darwood K., played the rich kid, Waldo, in Our Gang. K became a minister in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. On May 15, 2002, K was severely injured by a hit-and-run driver. He never recovered from those injuries and died. Darwood K was 72 years old. Darla Hood was remembered in Our Gang as a love interest for Alfalfa, Butch, and Waldo. At the age of 10, she left Our Gang. Later, she became a nightclub singer and occasionally appeared on television. In 1979, she was planning a Little Rascals reunion. Before the reunion, she went in for an appendectomy surgery on June 13, 1979. Tragically, she died unexpectedly after the surgery. The medical examiner said she died from heart failure due to contracting hepatitis from contaminated blood during the surgery. Darla Hood was 47 years old. So, is the Little Rascals curse real? Our Gang producer, Hal Roach, doesn't believe it. He claims that with 176 children appearing in the shorts, some were bound to have tragic lives afterward. Number 1. The Superman movies. Superman is arguably the best-known superhero in the world. He was created by American writer Jerry Siegel and Canadian-American artist Joe Shuster. Superman makes his first comic book appearance in June 1938's issue of Action Comics number 1. Also known as the Man of Steel, he was born on the planet Krypton. His Kryptonian name is Kal-El. He was sent to Earth as a baby just before Krypton exploded. He was discovered by Jonathan and Martha Kent in Smallville, Kansas. They adopted him and raised him on their farm. They named him Clark Kent. As a teenager, Clark became aware of his developing superhuman abilities, such as super strength, and his skin was impervious. In early editions of the comics, Superman could leap over the tallest buildings due to lower gravity on Earth, but in modern renditions of Superman, he can fly due to the Earth's yellow sun. Clark grows up and moves to the fictional city of Metropolis, where he takes on the day job of a news reporter for the Daily Planet. While working for the Daily Planet, he meets his love interest, Lois Lane. Along with working as a news reporter, he helps fight crime and protects Metropolis from his archenemy, Lex Luthor. The Superman franchise has gone on to be a huge success around the world and has created its own universe known as the DC Universe. Detective Comics, better known as DC Comics, has spawned other superheroes, including Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, and Aquaman. Those superheroes are part of a group called the Justice League of America. If you are able to find a copy of Action Comics number 1 stowed behind a wall or an attic, you might have hit the comic book lottery. In 2024, a CGC 8.5 graded comic of Superman's first appearance fetched $6 million at auction, making it the most expensive comic in the world. Even if you're not lucky to find 8.5 or better, a 0.5 grade of that comic sold for $408,000 in auction in 2023. So either way, you will walk away with way more than the 10 cents it cost in 1938. But if you're not one of the people with the most sought-after comic book, at least you're not like the other people on the other end who suffered from the Superman curse. After 87 years of production, people associated with the Superman franchise, which include many comic book series, movies, TV shows, among many other things, have come to be victims of the Superman curse. Although maybe not the first victim of the curse, but it could arguably be the start of the curse, creators of Superman, Siegel and Shuster. While shopping their new character around to different publishers, they made a deal with Detective Comics to sell the rights to their character for $130, and in that contract they were to supply the publisher with more material for 10 years. In those 10 years, Detective Comics merged with other publishers and went through name changes, becoming National Periodical Publication. The whole time, the rights to Superman were owned by Jack Leibowitz and Harry Donenfeld. Coming up on their 10-year contract in 1946, Siegel and Schuster wanted their character back after all the success Superman had created. The two creators sued Detective Comics and wanted their contract annulled and all rights go back to them. However, the New York Supreme Court ruled in favor of Leibowitz and Donenfeld, stating they had legally purchased the rights and they would continue to own the rights to Superman, which include the title, names, characters, and conception. A year later, in 1947, Siegel and Schuster created other comics under the publishing company Magazine Enterprises. Their most notable comic book character was Funny Man. The company was a failure, and Siegel and Schuster parted ways. In 1963, Siegel started working for DC Comics' main competitor, Marvel. Under legendary comic creator Stan Lee, Siegel helped write the Strange Tales comic series. Credited as Joe Catter, Siegel and Lee co-created Plant Man and the Human Torch. He was also involved with creating Angel. The character appeared in the first X-Men comic. After leaving Marvel, Siegel worked for revamping of superheroes in the Archie comics. But they canceled the production and he was let go. Over the years, he would write for other publishers, but he never reached the top again. He died January 28, 1996 of a heart attack. Schuster, however, had a sadder story. After parting ways with Siegel, Schuster freelanced as an illustrator. In 2004, it was revealed that he was the illustrator for the Knights of Horror comics. The Knights of Horror comics were sadomasochistic fetish paperback comic books that had illustrations of BDSM and sexual torture towards women. In 1954, it was brought into the spotlight as a key piece of evidence in the Brooklyn Thrill Killers case. The Brooklyn Thrill Killers were a group of 4 teenagers who, in the summer of 1954, terrorized the streets of Brooklyn. During their rampage, they whipped women with a whip they ordered from either Uncanny Tales or Journey into the Mystery comic. They beat homeless people and set them on fire, and they beat a man to death. They were finally caught forcing a man off a pier into the East River. The teens went to trial. It was the ringleader of the group, Jack Hoslow, who said that they got the ideas from the Knights of Horror comic. The comic was then seized and banned in the state of New York for violating obscenity laws. It was later upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States. Although, with all the attention the comic received, Schuster did not come forward as the illustrator. It wasn't until 2004 that he was named as the one who created the illustrations. By 1964, Schuster was working as a freelance cartoonist and drawing pop art. Unfortunately, he was losing his sight and could no longer see what he was drawing. He lived with his mother in Long Island and became a delivery man. In a sad twist, a fellow comic book artist working at DC claims that Schuster once had to deliver a package to the DC Comics office. He was summoned up to the CEO's office and given $100 and told to buy a new jacket and get a new job. Over the years, Siegel and Schuster tried suing for the right to Superman, but were unsuccessful. The pair started a protest campaign when the first Superman movie, starring Christopher Reeves, was released. To avoid any bad publicity, DC Comics gave them both a lifetime pension of $20,000 a year, which was later increased to $30,000 a year with health benefits. Although he got a pension, Schuster died $20,000 in debt on July 30th, 1992. DC Comics agreed to pay his debt in return that Schuster's heirs no longer challenged ownership of Superman. Even though Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel were the creators of Superman, they did not get the same accolades as other comic Golden Age creators like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. The creators of Superman may have had sad professional lives, never reaping the benefits of their hard work, but the curse affected many actors and casts, connected to the Superman films and TV shows. A lot of them suffered misfortune after being part of Superman. Max and Dave Fleischer were brothers who owned Fleischer Studios. The studio produced the Paramount Superman cartoons. After producing the Superman cartoons, the two brothers started fighting and the studio suffered financial problems. They sold Fleischer Studios to Paramount, of which they were highly in debt to, and they were forced to resign. Max died in poverty in 1972, and Dave died in 1979. Playing Superman might seem like a great role, while a lot of actors who play the Man of Steel fizzle out or are typecasted and cannot find acting roles afterward. This includes the first man to play Superman on the silver screen, Kirk Alyn. Alyn played Superman in 2 serials in the 1940s. His career failed to take off after because he was typecast. He had small parts in commercials and voice roles, but never garnered much of a career. He did play Lois Lane's father in the 1978 Superman film. Alyn died in 1999 after suffering from Alzheimer's disease. Along with Alyn, Bob Holliday, Bob Culver, Dean Cain, Brandon Routh, and Tom Welling have gone on to minimal work and have had small acting roles. Generally, their acting roles revolve around Superman or DC shows. An argument can be made for Tom Welling's show Smallville, as it was a successful show that ran for 10 years. However, another actor from that show may have been affected by the curse. Allison Mack was a regular character on the series Smallville. She played the character Chloe Sullivan. In 2018, Mack was arrested for sex trafficking and forced human labor. Mack was part of a cult called NXIVM, and they forced people to have sex with other members in the cult. In 2021, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison for her part in the cult. She served 21 months and was released in July 2023. To hear more about NXIVM, watch her video, 3 Secret Celebrity Cults. There are also many deaths connected to the curse. The first death related to the curse may be the second man to wear the red and blue tights, George Reeves. In 1951, Reeves starred in Superman and the Mole Men. After the release of the movie, Reeves starred in the Adventures of Superman television series. The series lasted 6 seasons with a total of 104 episodes. In 1959, Reeves was being typecast and was not able to find work. During a party that Reeves and his fiancée, Lenore Lamont, were having on June 16, 1959, Reeves was found dead in his bedroom from a gunshot wound to the head. The police ruled that Reeves took his own life, but controversy surrounded the case and many people believe he was murdered. If you want to hear more about Reeves' death and the possibility of him haunting the house he died in, you can check out our other video, 3 Hollywood Hauntings. The next 2 men to play Kal-El also met tragic ends. They appear in the 1978 Superman movie. Lee Quigley played the infant Clark Kent in the film. After Quigley's appearance in Superman, he grew up outside of Hollywood. He lived in England, and after his parents split up, he lived with his grandparents. Quigley had a troubled life and was bullied at school. In March 1991, Quigley died after inhaling solvents. He was only 14 years old. In the same movie, a grown-up Clark Kent, played by Christopher Reeve, suffered a tragic accident. Reeve played Superman in 4 different movies from 1978 to 1987. During that time, he landed other movie roles as well. On May 27, 1995, Reeve was riding a horse when he fell from it. The fall paralyzed him from the neck down. After being paralyzed, Reeve became a strong advocate for disabilities. He changed disability legislation and set up many charities. On October 10, 2004, Reeve died. No autopsy was performed, but his wife, Dana Reeve, and his doctor agreed that he died from an adverse reaction to a medicine he was taking. Christopher Reeve was 52. In a weird twist, the curse may have affected another person in Reeves' life. His wife Dana died 17 months after Reeves' death from lung cancer. She was 44 years old. For the 1978 Superman film, another two actors have been touched by the curse. Marlon Brando is considered one of the greatest actors of all time. He had a career that spanned 6 decades and is a 2-time Academy Award winner. Brando played Superman's biological father, Jor-El, in the 1978 Superman movie. However, after the movie, Brando suffered major personal tragedies. On May 16, 1990, Brando's son, Christian, shot and killed the boyfriend of his half-sister, Cheney, in their father's Hollywood home. The trial was highly publicized, and Brando even spoke in court, saying he failed his son and daughter. Christian was sent to prison for 5 years. This would be Cheney's only tragedy. In April 1995, after suffering from mental health issues after the killing of her boyfriend, Cheney took her own life at her mother's home in Tahiti. Her father and her brother, Christian, who was still in prison, did not attend her funeral. After the death of his daughter, Brando became a recluse and gained a great deal of weight. On July 1, 2004, Marlon Brando passed away from respiratory failure. He died 3 months before co-star Christopher Reeve. Another star of the Superman movie was Margot Kidder. Kidder played Clark Kent's love interest, Lois Lane. 10 years after starring in the first Superman movie, Kidder was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She did not accept the diagnosis, and she did not seek treatment. In April 1996, she suffered a manic episode and went missing for 4 days. Kidder was later found in the backyard of a residence in Glendale, California. The LA Police Department took her to the UCLA Medical Center and later placed her in psychiatric care. Margot Kidder died on May 13, 2018, due to a self-inflicted drug and alcohol overdose. She was 69 years old. In Superman 3, comedian Richard Pryor stars along Reeve. Considered by many to be one of the most influential stand-up comedians, Pryor was an established comedic actor by the time he starred in Superman 3. However, the comedian had a troubled life and had battled different addictions. On one night in June 1980, Pryor was freebasing cocaine and poured a bottle of rum on himself and set himself on fire. While still on fire, he ran down Parthena Street in Los Angeles. Police subdued him and he was taken to Sherman Oaks Hospital, where he stayed for 6 weeks recovering from 2nd and 3rd degree burns. 3 years after the release of Superman 3, Pryor was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. By the mid-1990s, MS had taken a toll on Pryor, who was now in need of a mobility scooter. In 2004, his sister reported that he had lost the ability to speak, but Pryor's wife claimed that he could. Unfortunately, Richard Pryor died on the morning of December 10, 2005 from a heart attack. He was 65 years old. So, is the Superman curse real, or is it all a coincidence that people connected to the Man of Steel have so much bad luck after? Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. If you did find it interesting, please make sure you subscribe. We'll have a new video about the paranormal every week. If you just discovered this channel, please make sure you check out our other channel, Criminally Listed. We have over 325 videos featuring bizarre but true crime stories. You can find it at youtube.com/criminallylisted. Well, that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.